So I'm Geraint Jenkins. I'm a cardiologist at Morriston Hospital in the regional cardiac unit. I've been here for just over 20 years, which is a long time from a healthcare perspective. And since I've been here, I've really been focused on dealing with people with heart attacks, with people with heart failure, and with people with a condition called pulmonary hypertension. My normal day consists of mainly seeing patients on the ward, doing procedures, for example, angiograms and angioplasties. Kidney disease is very common in this group of patients that I deal with for lots of reasons, like diabetes cause heart disease and kidney disease. Heart disease by itself causes kidney disease, and kidney disease causes heart disease. So probably half of my patients have some element of kidney disease, and a substantial number of them go on to have dialysis. So we have quite close interactions between the cardiac centre and the renal centre on a daily basis. And we just happen to be next door to each other as well, which is very useful. So we see each other around the hospital quite a lot. We tend to refer people to the renal team when the kidney function is deteriorating, but don't wait to the point where they need dialysis. So we have plenty of time to plan for dialysis. We have time for fistulae to be formed and careful consideration to be given to all aspects of their renal function. We generally do quite a lot of cardiac tests in the renal patients. Most of the patients with renal failure go on to develop cardiac disease, so a lot of them have screening tests and surveillance tests. We may be following up rhythm problems like atrial fibrillation. We may be following up valve disease. Valve disease, particularly aortic stenosis, is very common in patients with renal failure, and that may need to be followed with regular echo scans to assess how things are changing.
Today we're going to be doing a transthoracic echocardiogram. It's a common test that's done in patients with heart disease and kidney disease. It's done to have a better understanding of their heart function and also assess the valves more accurately. Doing okay, sir?
Yeah, fine.
Good.
Very good.
Cold jelly on your chest.
Right.
Okay. So when we are looking at the heart, there are a couple of things we're looking for. We're looking at the functioning of his muscles, which is most of the heart, and also looking for the valve function. In this view, we get a closer look at his mitral and aortic valve.
So patients on long-term dialysis tend to develop cardiac problems, often linked to blood pressure, sometimes to diabetes. And they get referred on later in the course of the disease then if they've not had cardiac problems preceding dialysis. Most of our cardiac patients have some extent of renal disease, and the renal function tends to deteriorate with time. Many patients we can stabilise to the extent that they never reach the position where they need dialysis. But when they do head towards dialysis, we try and plan that early and make sure that they have the appropriate form of dialysis. And for a lot of these patients, it's hemodialysis, and it means doing it as frequently as possible and setting it up in advance. So planning home hemodialysis well in advance is often a good way forward. The benefits of home hemodialysis is that it happens very regularly. It's more convenient for the patient, and you get better fluid balance. Patients with heart disease and kidney disease generally run into problems when they've got too much fluid in the body that ends up in the lungs, or it causes problems with high blood pressure or electrolyte imbalances with potassium and things like that. So the ones that have problems with fluid overload and heart failure tend to be the ones that dialyse infrequently or comply poorly with a dialysis. So they become fluid overloaded between sessions. Overall, regular dialysis works very effectively in controlling the body's systems. It's much safer and keeps people feeling better than less frequent dialysis. I do get lots of questions about dialysis from patients. Some want to know what form is best for them. They've heard it all from the renal team. They want somebody else to give them an opinion. I usually push them towards more regular dialysis, and if they're well enough to do it at home. What I like about cardiology is that we can do a lot of things for patients. We've got lots of tests we can do to make a diagnosis. We've got lots of very effective treatments. and we can make a difference to people, both in terms of how they feel, what they can do and how long they live.